Hello everybody, it's me, Farham, and we're back with some Path of Exile 2, going once again over the Power Charge Monk build. And we had a couple of aims with where we wanted to take this build after we'd got the mapping really good. The bossing. It was killing tier 4 bosses in about 16 seconds, which is kinda slow, I suppose. Slow enough. Anyway, we wanted to cut that in half at least, and we wanted to do that without significantly changing the build away from Ice Strike, while maintaining the ability to clear 50% Delirium maps really fast. So we've achieved that. We've done that with minimal investment. We've needed one rather cheap jewel, and you can get away without that jewel if you've got fire damage on your gear. And most of this has come from tree and gem changes. So let's jump straight into it, and we'll get over to the passive tree and go through all the things we've changed there. You'll notice our shield is a bit lower. We've had to move a few points around, but that's okay. 4,700 shield is enough. We've taken a couple of other defensive measures instead to make sure that we don't stand there getting smashed around like a lemon. Right, these passives then. So let's start with the Ascendancy. Some things have changed here. So, Initial Rage, Unbound Avatar, it's not necessary anymore. There's something much better we can take from the Ascendancies, which is Thunder my enemies. Critical hits ignore non-negative enemy monster elemental resistances. We're about 80-85% crit chance when the map's flowing. That's so much damage, ignoring all elemental resistances. It massively outstrips what Unbound Avatar can do. And because of that, we can then also drop skills like the penetration, because this sets penetration only penetrates actual resistances above 0. It doesn't penetrate below 0. Same with expose, I believe. So all of that can start to come off of our tree because we've taken this node instead. It gives us a lot more flexibility with how we're going to use our skills and what sort of supports we're going to have. Anyway, going through into the tree, it starts off kind of normal. We only go up to Mindful Awareness now. We're dropping the nodes around to Essence of the Mountain. We've got plenty of freeze, believe it or not. I think that's just from using Ice Strike as the base. We get just enough freeze, and Herald of Ice. Got enough. It works. It's fine. Flow state, skill speed, mana regen, crashing wave still for that more damage if we dealt a critical hit. Essence of the Storm is good. We want the increased shock chance. We actually do need to pump our shock quite hard to get Ice Strike working like Tempest Flurry. Why this is the Ice Flurry or the McFlurry build, right? Because Ice Strike is Tempest Flurry, because I hate Tempest Flurry, and Ice Strike actually feels nice to use. This way we can get away with just using Ice Strike. We don't need Storm Wave as well. Don't like Storm Wave either. Don't like the way it doesn't work the same as Charge Staff. It doesn't wallbang. It's just, I know that you have Charge Staff too. I just don't, yeah. Charge Staff's good enough. We can get Charge Staff to do enough damage. It's fine. Anyway, up to Moment of Truth. Grab critical hit chance. Then we come down to the Witch side of the tree. Grab critical exploit and melding. We've dropped quite a few points around here. Again, we're trying to get some points back. That's why our shield's lower. However, I will say this. I've gone up here to take self-mortification because I was getting annoyed with getting stun-locked by snakes in maps. Had some hairy moments. Self-mortification dealt with those hairy moments. I would say these 4 points here are optional. If you want to put them somewhere else, you can. There's some nice energy shield nodes here. Put them around extra crit nodes if you just want more damage. You can even come back round and grab this stun threshold instead. But because we dropped this, I mean, you could grab these 3 points, but that's not as much stun threshold. And we don't benefit at all from the energy shield recharge rate because our energy shield charge. Therefore, dropping these, taking this just felt like the better choice. But again, if you're not worried about the stun or you've got some other way of dealing with the stun, so you're not running ingenuity, you've got extra chance, feel free to deposit these. Then going around the rest of the tree, it's kind of similar. We're still grabbing Killer Instinct. We're coming up to grab Resonance and some crit nodes around here as well. We've slimmed down quite so many that we're taking. That's where I took my nodes from to grab Resonance. And this is where we're getting our first jewel. Now, this jewel is very much optional, but they're very cheap. I picked this up for 2 divines. You don't need the 4% fire damage. You only need 2% fire damage. But you want an Against the Darkness with extra fire damage if you can. If you've still got fire damage from somewhere else on your gear, then this is fine. You can actually just sack this off and you'll still be able to ignite. Although I found this ignites really consistently. You end up with a lot of fire damage on the bell and it really helps. So I would suggest getting one of these and then you can actually drop what fire damage you've got off the gear, take more preferable stats. Still grabbing Eternal Youth, coming round Spectral Ward, good solid defense. Coming up towards the north side of the tree, Careful Assassin and Thin Ice. We've dropped Heavy Frost now. We don't need the ignore non-negative elemental resistances of frozen enemies. Doesn't matter to us anymore. Chaos Inoculation, of course, with CI. Up here, we're grabbing Ingenuity. That's mostly because I needed the stat points. If you don't need the stat points because you've got them elsewhere, feel free to redistribute. But they do get quite a lot of extra damage from the Lightning from Hands of Wisdom Ancients. Potion Barrier for the massive amounts of defense. Coming down here, this is where we've got some more changes. So because we're playing Ice Flurry, Tempest Strike, whatever you want to call it, whatever we're doing, whatever you want to call this ability and this horrible, horrible mutation of an Ice Strike I've made, we're pumping the shit out of its lightning damage. It needs to shock in single target. Right, this is all because in single target we need basically every Ice Strike hit to shock us. So it's fine. And it still does enough ice damage to blow things up in maps, so we're all good. Still grabbing Overflowing Power. We are a Power Charge build. I think it would be absolutely wrong if I dropped these. The 60% crit on the way here is really juicy. Getting some Throat Seeker, seeking out those throats for more crit bonus. Filling up the crit side of the Quarterstaff tree. These are really good crit nodes here, so grabbing those. Still grabbing Coming Calamity. I find the proliferation in maps really doesn't work very well if you don't take this. And it does give you a little tiny... Actually, it gives you more than a little bit of damage. It boosts the bell damage quite a bit. Like, significant enough that it's shaving off 0.2, 0.3 seconds, I believe, on kill time. Feels like it's a good node. I was looking at switching this around, but can't bring myself to do it. And then finally coming down for the last of the crit tree. I had a look as well at using what are they called? Controlled Metamorphosis. But running nodes like Falcon Technique, you can get a lot of evasion from Bestial Skin. But Falcon Technique just wasn't as good for this build as it's going to be for an attribute stack. It just wasn't worth sacrificing the other things we had to remove from the tree. So this tree's been pretty well tested. I'm going to show you a couple of showcases against boss and a 50% delirium map. 47% delirium map. Sorry, let's get it right. Almost 50. It's how the map rolled when I dropped it. And yeah. First off though, let's talk about the skill changes. There's quite a few of those. We've obviously changed the tree quite a lot. We need the skills to support that, and we'll talk about why we've made those changes and how things are working. Alright, so this is where the madness happened on stream the other night. I tried Tempest Flurry Stormwave, and I had such a bad time, I was like, bollocks to it. We're going to make Ice Strike into Tempest Flurry and Stormwave at the same time. It'll be fine. We'll make it work. While also buffing the shit out of Tempest Spell with a single target. So this is what we've done. We're just running Tempest Spell. Still running over Abundance. I find you could run another damage thing here if you didn't want to run it, but I find this helps the flow of combat. So you're going to be putting probably 3 bells down in a tier 4 boss fight. While you're bringing the first bell, you're generating the charges for the second bell if you have overabundance. If you don't, then you're not, and actually you've got about half a second of 0.8 second of downtime before you can start charging up your other bell, and it's like another 1.5 seconds time. So I find overabundance helps that flow of combat. I don't change it. Close combat is huge. The bell's right on top of the enemy, right on top of the bosses. It's just going to nuke them. Really good. You should be able to handle the mana cost. You should have physical damage leached as mana somewhere on your gear. It's absolutely imperative. If you don't have that, then swap close combat for Soul Thief. Otherwise you'll have mana issues. Heavy Swing, it's the most physical damage you can get on a gem. Grab that. Concentrated Effect, it's 40% more area damage. This thing deals area damage. And Heft for the 30% more maximum physical damage. Another great node. That's taking our Tempest Spell damage up quite high. Then we've got Ice Strike. Now, bear with me for a minute while I get the board out and start moving all of the pins around and like putting my tinfoil hat on and stuff. But I really, as I've said it, I don't like the way Tempest Flurry feels. But Tempest Flurry does something really good, which is attack fast and shock lots, which is really good for single target. But we can make Ice Strike do that. This is how we've done it, aside from what skill tree. Still got Martial Tempo. Attack speed is king. Primal Armament. This is great damage for any elemental type. We've also put Rage on it. So we dropped our Rage gem from the tree. Ice Strike is now our Rage support. This will get us to 30 Rage in boss fights. That's why we can drop Font of Rage and take more damage on the bell. This is really important. It's significant, and I'm talking very significant in single target. If we can find a way to work Berserk onto this build as well, at the moment it's missing 101 strength, it would be even more significant. But 30% increased damage, it goes on top of everything else. You want this. Then we've got Overcharge. So Ice Strike is what's doing our shocking in single target. So now our shocks aren't making us do 20% more damage, they're making us do 35% more damage. And last off, Lightning Infusion, to make sure that we are doing just enough lightning damage to shock every single time, and that we're making the most out of those nodes on our tree. We're converting a lot of our cold to lightning. So how does this actually look? Well, if I took this off, you can see there's significantly more damage from our Ice Strike. But that's okay. We don't need significantly more damage from the Ice Strike. It just needs to be enough to pop mobs in maps. And that's it. That's Ice Strike's only purpose, is mapping, really, and to build charges for the bell, and then shock enemies. It can fulfill all those roles, while also giving us a sort of flurry strike type effect, where we can jump from mob to mob. So it feels really good to play. But anyway, it's basically lightning damage now, right? We've turned it into a lightning main. It's because I prefer the way the skill feels. If you like Tempest Flurry, you could run Tempest Flurry instead, but then there's Tempest Flurry built. Not mine. Wind Dancer. So Wind Dancer now we're running with nothing in it. It's there purely to give us our 4 stacks for more evasion, so that we can hopefully evade those big hits when we need to. We don't care about debuffing people when Gale Force goes off. We don't really want to get hit, right? And now we've actually got space to apply those debuffs elsewhere that would typically had in Wind Dancer. Anyway, moving on to Herald of Ice. A couple of changes here. Running Magnified Effect, Coursing Current so that it shocks more enemies around. Innovate so that it gets more lightning damage. Cold Mastery because it's still a cold skill. And we've put Immolate on here as well. So I don't care about it igniting, but we're doing so much fire damage from our tree now that we might as well take the 30% extra damage here. It helps with the clear and the killing of rares. Next up, we've got Charge Staff, and this one's had a massive overhaul as well. We're running Electrocute now, so this can actually stun things instead of just shocking. It's running Persistence, so that we've got about a minute's uptime with 5 charges. I think it's 52 seconds. Culling Strike. This attack goes off all the time, and we're the one controlling the attack. So this is what's now running Culling Strike, Blind, and Maim. It's our support instead of Wind Dancer. So we've got an offensive, defensive support rather than a defensive, defensive support. There's more of the control in our hands. It feels really good. Next up, we got another big change. So we've been running Elemental Invocation the whole time. Suggestion to have a look at Cast on Shock. Had a look at Cast on Shock. And yeah, this is why we've built Ice Strike the way we have. Ice Strike needs to be shocking every hit, and it is. And that's so it makes sure it procs this in single target. And this is what's busting the bells without us having to press the button. We just need to go Ice Strike 4 times bell, Ice Strike 4 times bell. Everything else is happening, all, as you'll see in the showcase anyway. This is just holding Eye of Winter with Deceleration, Scattershot, Energy Retention, and Impetus. We just want to be casting these things as many times as we can, as often as we can, just firing out these Eyes of Winter as quick as we can. We're still using the Power Charge tech, so we're running Combat Frenzy. Running Grim Feast for the defensiveness with clarity in it. Refusion on Combat Frenzy. Herald of Thunder has not undergone much change, so it's just here to proliferate freeze. Got Glaciation, Long Shot, Lightning Mastery, Ice Bite, and Ambush in there. And last up, we've got Charge Infusion with Precision. This is to give us the 19% more crit bonus. That's multiplicative on everything else. This is huge. So that's what the skills are looking like. We'll take a quick look at the gear. Not much has changed there. Slightly better staff. We've taken the jewel because we dropped our fire damage. But let's jump on over to the gear and then the showcases. Right, guys, so I'm not going to dwell on the gear too much because it's about finding there's certain key stats you need in certain places, and you're going to be wanting to look for your own bases because you're going to want to be making sure you've got those resistances, that you're hitting certain breakpoints, you know, the stuff that you just know you need to do. But let's talk about the important things on certain gear. So starting off with the helmet, Energy Shield is really important. You can also get damaging DPS increase stuff here, like critical hit chance, crit hit bonus, I believe, as well. But Energy Shield is the important one. You want at least 400 plus. On your weapon, you want to be looking for massive crit chance. The higher the crit chance, the better. And fizz damage. Everything's scaling off crit chance now. So 14, 15%. Anything over 14% there will do. I can almost guarantee you that socketing crit damage bonus is going to be the best sockets, but you're going to be probably picking one up that's got melee damage, because everyone sorts these things by fizz damage rather than anyway. Crit bonus, crit chance, more than 15% crit chance, more than 14% crit chance, you should be fine. On the chest, you need to hit about 260 spirit. So you're going to be wanting to look for something very close to this on the stats with whatever resistances you need. About 1,230 evasion rating and 470 energy shield is about what you need there. On the neck, you want to be going for energy shield and whatever resistances you need. There's DPS stuff you can get here as well. Grab that if you want, but it doesn't feel like it needs more DPS. Focus, I would say, more on the energy shield for your neck, and you can probably get yourself a bargain. Stick Storm Charged on it as well. That's the best damage node that's on the tree. If you feel like you've got enough damage, then feel free to swap that anoint to some sort of tank node that you want. There's plenty of energy shield boosting ones around if you would like even more energy shield. Personally, I'm going with Storm Charged. On the rings, this is a crap ring, but basically you just want cold damage. You've got enough lightning damage everywhere else. Cold damage on the rings will help you keep proliferating cold in the maps. So both rings, cold damage. On one of them, you really want to get leech you want to get leech physical damage as mana. Or you can get it on your weapon instead of the gain 3 mana per enemy killed like this one has. But make sure that somewhere on your build you have leech physical damage as mana. If you don't, you will have mana problems with the Bell and Eye of Winter. Like, absolutely, and you'll have to run Soul Thief, and you'll have to drop Bell damage. It's a really important stat. Get it somewhere. Other than that, cold damage. On the boots, movement speed. You spend a lot of time running. 35% movement speed is what's important. You also want evasion energy shield base. Otherwise, your evasion's really low. If you get pure energy shield base, it feels really bad. I would strongly, strongly, strongly recommend evasion energy shield there. And for your gloves, you want Hand of Wisdom in action. If you can get 1 to 12 lightning damage to attacks, it's much, much better, but they're a lot more expensive. But grabbing just a pair of these that aren't bricked, so at least 3% and 1 to 10 lightning damage is great, and as many stats as you can. For the belt, you want an ingenuity as high rolled as you can. Mine's 69% for the meme, but you can... above 69% is quite affordable. Honestly, anything above 50 is going to be boosting your rings and giving you more power than a belt would. So that's really the gear. Oh, and on your flask, you want something like this, 75%, just massive amount recovered. You'll be pressing that button if your shield goes below max. That's it. Mana potion, you might want to grab one, just in case you dump too many shocks, but I haven't seen that happen yet. And the physical attack damage as mana has been more than enough to keep the mana topped up, so felt fine there. But let's showcase this thing. I've got T4 boss and a 50% delirium map. Show you that it's still capable of doing all the endgame content, just better and faster. Alright, let's showcase this thing against the breach boss. It's pretty fast now, providing I press all the buttons in the right order. You still don't want to get hit. We've got a bit of a smaller shield now. I had to drop a few shield nodes. We could take that back, but I don't feel the need. We blow everything up, so... Grim Feast keeps us topped up. The actual Arbiter of Ash, I'd probably swap Grim Feast for Ghost Dance, because Grim Feast does nothing in that fight, but that's the only swap I think I'd do. The Heralds don't do much, but the 50% extra elemental damage is something. It's not worth doing the swap for something that's going to give you moderately more damage. The only thing that would be nice, if you somehow managed to get up to 133 strength and fit Berserk on this build, that would be something. But at that point, you're basically an attribute stacker anyway, so you might as well be attribute stacking, right? I was looking to squeeze that in, and it just doesn't quite squeeze in. But we sit on 30 rage the whole time, so it would have been really nice if that was, you know, giving us 50% more damage rather than 30%, but I'll take the 30%. As long as there's things to hit, we sustain our rage. The joy of having rage actually on Ice Strike. The point was to get it to do enough damage to clear, and anything else is just gratuitous overkill, so we may as well start using it as a support. What we really need, which is ice, which is bell damage. And actually, it helps with the Herald damage as well, that rage affects the Herald hits. So it helps with clear and everything. But Ice Strike is basically, Ice Strike and Charge Staff are now basically support skills. Which they always were. I was putting too much stock in putting the damage of Ice Strike up. It just didn't need to be done. Well, I guess it did early days because we needed the supports there to get the proliferation. But now that we've got it through gear and levels and can get away without. Breach rings everywhere. Oh god. We might actually run out of charged staff before the boss fight starts. We should be okay. Chatting away. There you go. Pretty fast. So yeah, that's the boss kill speed on it now. It's really good, and let's do a Deli map clear as well, so you can see that the clear hasn't been affected and that we can still do that. And yeah, you enjoyed that boss kill. I did. All right, let's get this going in a farming map with pretty decent amount of delirious, right? So that's what really increases damage we take and decreases the damage we do. So 50% delirious, give or take. It's one of those random roll maps. It's got a bunch of lovely modifiers on it, which are going to be nice to run. And it's in a nice farming place. It's a crap map, but it's got everything in it. It's got breach, it's got +1 levels, it's got the map boss. We should be able to see how this does in farming situation. Now, this is why we're running self-mortification, by the way, with the slightly lower shield. Although we could just take the shield back. I'm preferring self-mortification. It feels more useful in more situations. But it will stop us getting stunned quite as much from hits. In fact, it should stop us getting stunned almost entirely. Right, we don't want to reduce the lightning damage. That would be terrible. But we can probably blow up all of this side. Yeah, let's just get down here. See how this goes. Hopefully, no stun. We'll see. Yeah, first couple dead. And that's everything dead. Well, apart from the things that have got some sort of... It wasn't a particularly juicy expedition, it was just only the big things came out. None of the small guys. Any logbooks? Any logbooks? They're worth like 100 at the moment. Maybe more. No logbooks for us. Banned. Alright, and on we go. You can see we're still proliferating the freeze. It's not... Maybe not 100%. 50% delirium, but it's enough to clear everything. Deli guys, obviously just don't explode anyway. They're explosion-free enemies. They just go back to the nether. But everything that can explode is exploding. 50% Deli, we're going to get a lot of delirium monsters, so... That's good, because that means there's a lot of splinters. Exactly what we want. Oh no, we walked around the corner into something that would have normally stunned us, but we blocked all the stuns. We're going to have to fight the guy with the big red penis. Good times. Oh, let's just get it cracked straight open. No messing, no fooling. Breach monsters always explode. Oh no, they're down there. Whatever will we do? Oh, there's not as many of them as I thought. There we go. What? It's like, where are all the breach monsters? There they are. They're hiding from us. See, we're walking through, getting hit, not getting stunned. It was pretty good on the clear. Very good on the clear. Especially for the breaches. Here for. I'm not going to loot the breach right now. We will continue through the map. I'm not going to make you guys sit and watch me loot the breach. Continue to the map boss. Time. Oh, he's got friends. He never has friends in his room. Oh my god. How exciting. Oh no. Big and scary. And that's how it deals with map bosses. So, you know, the clear's still really good. This is fine damage. Pumping up that Ice Strike damage was completely unnecessary. What we've got now is great single target and great clear at the same time, without having to do any gem swaps. And we've only got 2 buttons that we have to press and a buff that we have to press once a minute. So that's quite nice. Just do it all with one hand. But yeah, that's the build. Those are the showcases. Now I really do believe the investment would either be I tried a couple of things with gems on the tree. Didn't make any difference. I think the investment would just be better gear. Better gear, you're going to get better numbers, you have higher defense, you have less oh shit moments. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. I've really enjoyed putting the build together. The build guide and everything, POB and the Mobalytics is in the description. I will be keeping this updated as patches and things come out, because it's really good, and I like it. And I hope you guys like it too. And I'll catch you in the next video.